From the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation, Outdoor Oklahoma.
Hello and welcome to Outdoor Oklahoma. I'm Todd Craighead and I'm coming to you today from one of my favorite fishing holes, a farm pond. Now, you may not know it, but Oklahoma ranks as one of the top states in the nation for number of farm ponds. So with that much opportunity out there, it's only natural that we would eventually bring to you a show dedicated to just that, the farm pond. Now, whether or not you've got an existing pond with problems that you want to take care of, or maybe a pond that you want to turn into the one of your dreams, or maybe you've got some property and you're looking to venture out and build the pond of your dreams from scratch. Today's show is going to address all those issues.
For many folks, ponds fill an important role in their lives, but there's more to a productive farm pond than simply digging a hole in the ground.
Any landowner that's interested in either constructing a pond or getting an older pond renovated or doing some repair work on it can do that through the local conservation district office and the local NRCS office, and they will provide technical assistance on both going out on your farm and helping you locate the best possible position or location for a pond, or actually even finding out whether you have a good location for a farm pond. There are a lot of people who would like to have a farm pond, but unfortunately they don't always have the best location, but they'll certainly work with you to try to find the best location. And then if you have multiple options, they would also look at the things like water quality or the drainage area where the water is going to run off into your pond. You'd certainly like to have a good vegetative cover there so erosion problems would be reduced, and just look at all kinds of different considerations with you on that.
When constructing a farm pond, it's ideal to create side slopes with a 3-to-1 ratio. This means for every 3 feet out, the depth will increase 1 foot. A drain pipe is highly recommended in a new or renovated pond. In the event of high water or flooding, this pipe will allow for excess water to be drained from the pond. The construction period is also a good time to add fish structure, such as cedar trees, old Christmas trees, and riprap to provide fish cover and enhanced fishing opportunities when the pond is completed. It's also a good idea to seed any exposed soil around the bank to establish ground cover that will control erosion.
We do have a list of vendors or contractors or people in the construction business, usually in a county, and we can provide you the entire list of people that might construct the pond for you. But it is the landowner's responsibility to make the contacts and work with the contractor to get the pond constructed. They will, of course, work with our local field office if there are questions about the construction. And then after the pond is constructed, we will go out and ensure that the pond is built in a safe and in a manner, a good quality manner that we would expect the pond to last for a long time and end up with the desired results on the pond.
The cost of constructing a farm pond may be intimidating, but there are several cost-share programs available for qualifying landowners, and your county NRCS office can help guide you through the application process.
Unfortunately, there's always a lot more demand for the dollars than there is available funds, but so we use a ranking process to determine the best eligible projects for the site. But we have assisted through both financially and technically on, as I say, building the majority of those 250,000 farm ponds that are located in Oklahoma, and as you know, certainly provide a large percentage of the recreational fishing in this state also.
You know, one of the most popular programs at the Wildlife Department is how to get free fish for your farm pond. So let's head up to the Byron State Fish Hatchery right now and visit with Steve Spade and find out how you can get fish for your pond.
The Department of Wildlife provides at no cost 100 bass, 100 channel cat, and 500 bluegill per surface acre of water. Minimum size pond that we'll provide fish for is half acre, and we'll provide fish for up to 10 acres, worth of fish. Now the pond can be bigger than that, but the maximum number of fish we'll give out will be 10 acres worth. What we do is we put about 1.5 gallons or 2 gallons of water in a plastic bag, and then we'll put up to about a ½ pound of fish in there, so it depends on the size of fish. Last year we provided fish for 510 farm ponds in the state of Oklahoma. This amounted to 325,000 bluegill, 73,000 channel catfish, and 70,000 largemouth bass.
Once your application for free fish is completed and mailed to the department, the nearest fish hatchery will contact you with instructions to obtain your fish. You'll receive your bluegill and channel catfish in the fall and the largemouth bass the following spring.
It's not our intent that we open up private property to public fishing without consent of the owner. So in this case, the bass, the channel cat, and the bluegill are for your private fishing alone. And we would encourage you to open it up to as many youth especially as possible, but this is a private farm pond stocking program that we do have, one of the many services we have within the Fisheries Division of the Department of Wildlife.
Let's now see how aquatic vegetation is beneficial when properly introduced to a new or established fishery.
What we're doing today is harvesting white water lily tubers, such as this. These small tubers, so this does not look very impressive, when planted in a place that it's got plenty of room to grow and so forth. One little root like this will create a circle about this big of leaves and cover for fishes. 20% coverage on a pond of this size makes great fish habitat. This is a nursery area for little bass, bluegill, and so forth to get away from the bigger fishes for a while. It also provides shade for the fish, which is cooler water. Plus these pads and stem provide points of attraction or attachment that aquatic insects and invertebrates will get on. This in turn will attract bluegill and other sunfishes, which will feed on the aquatic insects. And that's why lily pads are such a great place to fish for bass, because the bass are in there after the sunfish, which are in there after the insects. So if you build a new pond or you got an existing pond, don't think of totally destroying the vegetation. That's a wrong way to go. 20% coverage is going to make your pond a lot healthier pond for fishing.
Well, the old D-Liar says 7 pounds. Can you believe that? Out of a farm pond. I hope you're learning a lot. We'll catch up with more about farm pond management right after this week's Outdoor News Report. Come on, baby. Thanks for the good times.
Let's rejoin John Stahl on a tour of ponds as he highlights some common problems they have and how proper care can extend the life of your farm pond.
Farm ponds are mighty important to the folks in Oklahoma. We're second only in the nation to Texas as far as total number of farm ponds in our state. And a considerable amount of time, money, and effort goes into the construction of these ponds, and then they can develop problems. These problems can be anything like this little pond here. Well, due to neglect, all these willows grew up. Thousands of gallons of water leaves this pond every day due to evaporation and transpiration. The leaf litter from these willow leaves is falling into the pond, creating this aquatic plant problem. As we go through today, we're going to look at several Oklahoma farm ponds and the problems they have developed over the years. Well, if I drove up on this pond, it's basically a pretty good looking fishing pond. We're not dealing with a lot of exposed clay, and we got one small spot of erosion down by the dam. This pond is not fenced for cattle, and Because of that, we are dealing with some cattle erosion and some enrichment of the pond from the cattle waste. And the only other thing that was actually wrong about this pond is the fact that they're letting the trees grow up on the dam, which in time will weaken the dam, and they could quite possibly lose the pond. So this stock pond, it's not a fishing pond, it's a stock pond for sure. We see evidence of the salt lick feeder down there in the corner that got knocked into the pond by the cattle. With this situation and the cattle going to this, and you'll notice the dam is not well vegetated, it's got a real bad erosion problem. A big scalding rain on this watershed is going to wash a lot of this silt and clay into this pond. And you know, we're talking a reasonable value of $1,000 plus, maybe $2,000–$3,000 to set up a dam like this. And then you turn around and it's going to silt in, going to fill. Eventually it's just going to become a mire, a small marsh. It's not a suitable place for fishes or other aquatic life, and it's not even that good for cattle because they're going to wade out in the middle of this. It can get so mucky and miry with substrate, with clay, that you can actually lose cattle in this situation where they get bogged down and drowned in these situations. But pretty poor pond as far as any recreational value at all. And its main problem is cattle and erosion from the cattle and just basically not healing up these banks. This is a pretty ideal pond for this situation. It's being multi-purpose use. It is a source of water for the cattle, the livestock. This one was going south on them, people. They were going to lose that dam to cattle erosion, and they've come in and they fenced it off. We have aquatic vegetation as far as fish habitat. We have existing structure left in the lake in the form of old trees. It's unique to notice just how bad the cattle erosion is outside the fence. And then you look inside the fence and you see that the banks have healed up and are pretty well doing what they should be doing. This will save the life of this pond by probably 10 or 15 years, the fact that the cattle have been blocked out or fenced out of the main part of the water. It doesn't take a whole lot of money, time, or effort to fix these problems. The initial cost of most farm ponds are in the primary stages of construction. And once you've invested that time and money, why not maintain them by snipping the trees off and possibly building a fence around the pond to keep the cattle out. If you'll do that, the farm pond will last a whole lot longer, possibly your lifetime and into the lifetime of your children. It's well worth the time and effort, folks, to do this and keep your farm pond healthy.
With so much to know about farm ponds, it can be hard to understand exactly what it takes to keep one productive. So I caught up with Glen Gephardt, who is arguably the state's expert on farm pond management. Glen is the co-author of Managing Pond Fisheries in Oklahoma. He put his knowledge to practice on his own pond and shows me firsthand how enjoyable a well-managed fishery can be.
Bluegill put that body sideways and put up a nice fight.
Oh yeah, look at that, how fat that is.
Yeah, these guys are nice and fat.
Oh wow. Now Glen, tell me, in your opinion, what is probably the best way to start stocking an existing pond?
Well, I know it sounds bad, but in most cases, the very best thing you can do with an existing pond is to kill all the fish out right off the bat. A lot of people think that sounds severe, but in most cases, you don't have exactly what you want to have in an existing pond. I went with fish species that will eat fish food. And by doing that, the limiting factor always in a pond is the amount of food available. And so you can bump that limiting factor way up by stocking fish that'll eat fish food.
Okay.
And
so you'd buy those at a commercial hatchery then?
You either buy those at a commercial hatchery or you work with someone like myself that can set up the cross yourself in the pond. You can buy these hybrid bluegill. If you've got a new pond, it's a perfect chance to set them up yourself at very little cost and produce, like I say, 10, 20,000 right off the bat. In future years, you're probably going to have to buy, or in my case, I've got 2 smaller ponds, one of which drains right into this pond, and I can set those up and then let them go for a couple of years and grow my own 3 to 4 inch hybrids and then stock them in here.
So you've become your own hatchery.
Yes, I've got my own hatchery, and that's the ideal way. When I look for an ideal pond, I look for a main pond and then a little small satellite pond, as I like to call it, where you can grow your fish. This is my satellite pond where I grow hybrid bluegill up to a size where they won't get immediately eaten in my main pond. So I grow them for 2 years and then move them into my main pond when they're 3-4 inches long. The other important thing to have on a pond is a spillway screen to keep fish from moving out of your pond when you don't want them to, especially if it's your primary pond. Something that will hold in most of the fish of any size. As it down low, I've got a 1/4 inch, and then up high I've got a 5/8 inch screen, and this keeps the fish from moving out when I don't want them to. I've also got a screen on my main pond so that all of my big fish can't leave during a big runoff event. This is often an overlooked item, and it's very important to have, or you will lose a lot of fish, especially things like hybrid bluegill, over your spillway during high water. We've got 2 different kinds of fish feed that I feed. This is a standard 36% protein floating catfish feed that's got about 10% fish meal, and everything will eat that, but I like to get my hybrid stripers to eat the higher protein, 40% with about 20% fish meal in it, because them being fish eaters, they do much better on it. I'll go ahead and feed some of this 36% first, and we'll get the hybrid bluegill up here. This is what makes the whole pond possible, is the amount of fish feed that I pour in here. I'll put in about 1,000, 1,500 pounds of fish feed a year. That is the limiting factor, is the amount of food available, so I've bumped that limiting factor way up, and therefore I've bumped the production of the pond way up, and that's what allows me to harvest 500 pounds a year out of a 1 acre pond, is the amount of fish feed I've got going in.
Oh yeah, look at that, boiling up. Now Glenn, you talked about your situation. Look at that fish, wow. Your situation's a little bit unique here because of the fact that you can produce your own fish in 2 smaller ponds. But for somebody that's starting out with a pre-existing pond and they kill off the fish population and want to start off with the right balance and the right mixture of species, where can they, what are their options for getting fish? We have a department program that provides fish, but...
Right, and that actually is a very good option. And I would say for 90% of the people or so out there, that's the best option. Okay. Because a lot of people may think it looks great, you know, to catch fish like crazy, but unless they're willing to, you know, keep a feeding program going, it won't necessarily stay excellent year after year after year. And so the advantage to going with the department is, number 1, you get free fish. Sure. And number 2, you get a balanced setup that typically you'd have to do a little management on the bass harvest, but other than that, you don't do any management by just going with their you know, 100 bass fingered. Usually they start with about 500 straight bluegill and stock those in, and then they come back in the next year with about 100 bass fingerlings per acre and about 100 channel catfish, and that creates a good fishing environment that, as long as the bass aren't over harvested, stays good for years and years to come.
Now, is that something that a person's going to have to do periodically, or is it just a one-time and then you're done, you don't ever have to do it again?
Well, it's typically a one-time stocking thing, although you do have to pay attention, like I said, to your bass harvest, because if you over-harvest the bass, then the bluegill produce too many offspring and get stunted. And that used to be the problem as people fished and kept fish a lot. Now, sometimes what we see is just the opposite problem, where people are being aware of not over-harvesting their bass, but in so doing, they don't harvest any, and you can actually see stunted bass, especially at that 8 to 12 inch size where they need to switch from an insect diet to a fish diet. So you actually do have to harvest some of your bass and take them out if you want to keep a healthy growing bass population and get some lunker bass in there.
So it's just a myth and a wives' tale. If you want big bass, practice complete catch and release.
In a pond environment where
Sure.
you've got limited food, again, you can think of the pond, food is the limiting resource. And so you go with your available food, and where you're going with a bass bluegill situation, your available food is pretty well fixed.
In the little time I spent with Glenn, I rediscovered how fun fishing a pond can be, and how sound management can truly have a noticeable impact on even a small pond. The first step is to decide what your priorities are, and then form a plan to match. Glenn wants to be able to catch lots of fish to eat, but some folks would rather manage for trophy fish. Well, whatever your priority, remember to have fun and include your friends.
Well, Glenn, I want to thank you for letting us have a tremendous day on your pond. This has just been something I won't forget for quite a while.
Well, you're more than welcome, Todd.
Woo! Look at that. Oh,
We'll
my
see
goodness.
If
Look
we can
at
get
that.
this guy coming this way, and I'll give him
You
the
want me
quick. I'll give him the quick two-handed land if I can get him to.
You want me to hold the rod and...
I'll just.
Golly, look
There.
at that.
Is a big channel catfish.
On cut bait hybrid bluegill we just caught an hour ago.
Yep, exactly.
That's incredible.
Well, that's what a pond can do with a little bit of management
Well, sure.
and a little bit of fish feed.
I would think from what I've seen today, if you wrote the book, it's good information.
Well, thanks very much, Todd.
Thanks to Glenn. We'll see you next time, somewhere new in outdoor Oklahoma.
For additional information on today's show or to purchase your own copy of Managing Pond Fisheries in Oklahoma, log on to wildlifedepartment.com.
What if... Oh, man. Well, way
Looks
over
like-
me. It's probably going to roughly be 13, 13.5.
Right, almost 14.
He almost bottoms that out.
Almost.
Wow.
Looks like right there he's still. Looks like
13.5,
13.5.
6,
Yeah, I think so.
13.8. That is awesome.
You know, I think that's a new pond record. I'd have to check my records. I keep records. And if not, we'll give him a chance to become the new pond
That's
record.
right. Wow. Woo! There he goes. No worse off for the wear. It's for the good times. I think that probably is my biggest fish ever. Biggest largemouth bass. Oh, tore up my fingers, but it was worth it. Oh, man.